Hey guys, Ms. Burrows. I'm going to show you how to take notes when you are doing the videos that I have recorded for you. So you need to get out a notebook piece of paper and get ready to follow along, and by the end of this you're going to know exactly how to take the best notes to get a straight A. So let's get started. Okay, so the notes that we are taking are called Cornell Notes, and this is the greatest and most organized way for you to take notes, because I know that sometimes when you're taking notes it gets a little confusing what you should write down, where you should write it down, and they get all jumbled. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So okay, the first thing that I want you to do is you are going to write your name, date, class, and the period in the upper right hand corner. And if you look up here, you'll notice that it has the name, the date, the class, and the period. Okay? The next thing that you want to do is you want to write the topic of the notes. For example, genre, if we're covering genre, or we're covering writing strategies, nouns, etc. Today we're covering Cornell Notes. So at the top of your notebook paper, you're going to write Cornell Notes. Okay, so we have our blank sheet with Cornell Notes at the top. We have our name, the date, the class period, and now I'm going to show you how to set up your Cornell Notes. The first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to draw a horizontal line 5 lines up from the bottom. Okay, so of course my notebook paper looks a little bit shorter than yours, but use your whole paper, count up 5 lines from the bottom, and draw that first line. The next thing that you're going to want to do is draw a vertical line down the page about 1/3 of the distance from the left. So notice this line. It's not right in the middle. You don't want it in the middle. You want it just 1/3 of the way over. And I'm not going to measure, so if you don't get it right, it's not a big deal. Okay. What do we put in the right hand side? Okay, in the right hand side you're going to put keywords and ideas. You're going to put important dates, people, places. You're going to put repeated or stressed information, things that I say over and over again. Those are important. You're going to do ideas, brainstorming, written on the board, overhead projector. Anything that I write is probably important to write down. And then you're going to want to write information from textbooks or stories. So if I ever give you an assignment from your textbook that's online, you're going to want to take those kinds of notes too. And then any diagrams or pictures you're going to want to put on the right hand side. And then formulas. We're not going to really have any formulas in here because it's not a math class, it's not a science class. Okay. On the left hand side of your paper, you're going to do main idea and any questions that you have for Ms. Burrows after you're done with the notes. So once you've finished all of this information on the right hand side and you get to the end, if you still have questions about the material, then you're going to want to write these questions over here on the left hand side, because we are going to go over them in class the next day. Any questions that you have, I'm going to answer for you. Okay, so here is a sample. Notice at the top they have for English. They have taken notes, and it looks like they took notes on parts of speech. So the part of speech was noun, and they've written down information about the nouns. Okay, so these are the notes that they took on nouns. Okay, this was the main idea. What is a noun? What are the 2 types of nouns? And what is a compound noun? So those were the main ideas that were covered. It doesn't appear that this person had any questions that he didn't understand. He wrote the main idea. Okay, so here are some helpful hints for getting straight A notes. Abbreviate and paraphrase. You don't have to write every single word out. Use symbols. Draw arrows. Use circles. Underline things, or highlight to emphasize important ideas and relationships in your notes. Skip lines between ideas. For instance, if you go back to those nouns, they separated the types of nouns from other information. Within 24 hours, you're going to want to review the notes and develop study questions on the left-hand side. So if you know that we're going to be quizzed over the information that I gave you, you're going to want to use these notes to review and to study. Now, because we're going over it in class the next day, any questions that might be answered, you might not need to review every 24 hours. And always beware of teacher clues. Well, what is a teacher clue? All right, so let's take notes on teacher clues. Teacher clues. How do I know what the teacher says is important? Good question. Again, if I repeat or I stress with inflection, then you know it's pretty important. So if I'm saying something and I might raise my voice, or I might give a little bit more oomph to what I'm saying, then you're going to want to write that down. If my voice gets louder, softer, faster, slower, you're going to know that there's a change in the way I'm talking, and you're going to want to write those down. If I write on the board or you see it on the overhead, you're going to want to write it down. If I say this will be on the test, you're going to want to write it down. If I use gestures, hand, arm movements, you might want to write it down. And finally, if I say this is important, and I will oftentimes during your videos say this is important, you're going to want to write it down in the right-hand side. Okay, so let's talk about that bottom of the paper, because we still have that 5 lines at the bottom. So you're asking me, well, Ms. Burrows, what are we going to put down there? This is your summary. Now, I don't want you to summarize. I want you to leave the bottom open for when you get to class the next day. We are going to summarize together. Okay? So it is for a summary. It's the review, your notes as soon as possible after class, and you write down a summary in your own words about the main ideas. Are there any gaps in your understanding? Questions for the teacher. Now, I said I wanted you to put those on the left-hand side, and I really do. If you run out of room and need to put questions at the bottom, you're more than welcome to, but always make sure that you leave space at the bottom for a summary. And then doodles. Down here, they won't get in the way of the important stuff. So if you just have to draw a little stick figure, sleeping because they're bored, do it at the bottom. So there's our summaries, our questions, and our doodles. Okay, so this is an abbreviation exercise, and I'm not going to ask you to do this abbreviation exercise. I just want to show you what it would look like if you were going to abbreviate. Hippocrates, a Greek who was considered to be the father of medicine, was born on the island of Kos in 460 BC. George Washington was not, in a sense, America's first president, and Mark Twain fell in love with Olivia Langdon. They married in 1870 and moved to Hartford, Connecticut. So look at how this person has abbreviated. Hippocrates, spelled that out. Father of med, B, born. B is for born, in Kos, and then the year. G. Washington. You know who George Washington is. Not Ames, first pres, with a question mark. And then Twain, Olivia Langdon, married. M is married, 1870 to, was married to Olivia Langdon. Now, you can abbreviate your own way. It's how you understand it. So you don't have to do what they did. So that is the end of your Cornell notes. If you have any questions, remember, write them on the left-hand side and come to class tomorrow with it. All right.